His worst nightmare. Let's talk about that fight for his political life. Let's go live now to Cape Town. Standing by to talk to us is political analyst Daniel Silke. Daniel, warm welcome and thanks very much for joining us. This microphone gaffe, does it mean toast for Gordon Brown?
I think that it's a very humiliating position for Brown to have to apologize the way he did, for it to be aired on television. And I think voters in the UK have been doubting Gordon Brown's personality. They've been questioning whether he is an affable man or whether he is an irascible man. And this kind of gaffe in the public eye have perhaps confirmed in the minds of many that perhaps Brown isn't the right man to lead the United Kingdom.
It also, as you rightly point out, it draws a stark comparison between Brown the politician and Brown the private man.
Well, there have been rumours about Brown's personal attitude towards his staff members. There was a book written by a senior journalist and published only a few months ago which criticised Brown for being aggressive with his staff members, and now you get this kind of public utterance which confirms those rumours. So it couldn't have come at a worse time for Gordon Brown.
Let's talk about the third and final debate. How important are these events? Can they win or lose elections, in your opinion?
Well, I think the gaffe certainly will. I don't believe it will lose Gordon Brown that many votes. The critical issue will be the debate that's happening tonight. The debate is about the economy. It's the topic of the third debate. And this is the topic that Gordon Brown should be the strongest on. This is his baby. He was the finance minister. He should be able to be a heavyweight and have some gravitas when it comes to discussing the economy. So this is his one chance to claw back some of that lost support or some of the suspicion about him. But I think this is a fight for the heart and soul of the United Kingdom. It's going to be a debate in which David Cameron from the Conservative Party really has to make a push to try and get as much support to oust Brown, and perhaps even to oust Brown on his own, which looks increasingly unlikely as a result of the strong showing of the Liberal Democrats.
The star factor, of course, is the Liberal Democrats' Nick Clegg. He is becoming the kingmaker, isn't he?
I think he is the kingmaker. I think that after his first performance, backed up by the second performance in the debates, personality, style, panache, and I think a young, more trendy leader has caught the imagination of the British public. The British public also want change. They've had 13 years of Labour in power. And you must remember, too, that Gordon Brown himself has not been elected directly. He followed on from Blair, and this is the first election that he is in fact facing. So it's time for a change. There's new personalities, and the economic recession has brought into focus a number of economic questions. The British public certainly, I think, are questioning whether Labour can take them out of the recession and whether perhaps someone new and fresh needs to be put in place.
Let's go back to the philosophy of these debates and bring it back home if we could. In the South African political firmament, would they make a difference? Should we have them here?
Well, I like political debates, and I think these debates absolutely highlight the very sound and exciting nature of British democracy at play. I think they're of an extremely high standard, and I think they tackle the real issues. It's very difficult to get away from issues when you've got three heavyweights pounding at each other in this debate format. So I would absolutely like to see presidential debates of a similar ilk take place in South Africa. It'll put our politicians on the spot, and South Africans will be able to judge very directly whether they are indeed capable, at least in style and panache on television. Substance perhaps is always lacking, and debates tend to push style and personality, but I still think we need them here in South Africa.
Having said that, I guess that is the nature of politics in the 21st century, isn't it? Let's talk about May 7, if we can, when the results start to come through. What, in effect, would a hung parliament mean for the United Kingdom? That would appear to be the way in which the country is moving.
Yes, well, of course, that simply means that no one party will have a majority in Westminster, and that two parties will have to form a coalition in order to govern. And what it really means is that the larger of the parties will probably have the chance to retain the position of Prime Minister. The secondary party, the second coalition partner, will then extract as many cabinet positions as possible and try and get the best deal for itself. I think that a hung parliament is the likely outcome here, but what it perhaps means in the medium term for Britain is a very difficult era of policy making as two competing political forces are forced to govern together in a coalition government, and that creates difficult government. And we could very well see a degree of inertia in policy making coming out of the United Kingdom, and this could even precipitate a further general election called before the end of the term of office in a few years' time.
Here's a final question for you. Should we have a hung parliament, either with Gordon Brown or David Cameron at the helm, how would that change relations then between London and Pretoria?
Now, I think relations are quite sound between South Africa and the United Kingdom. You will remember that Jacob Zuma went to visit the United Kingdom only a few months ago. It was his first major overseas trip. And I think we've seen a cementing of relations between South Africa and the UK. Traditionally, I suppose the ANC, as the governing party, had closer links with Labour than with the Tories, and there might well be an element of scepticism from a Tory or conservative administration towards the ANC administration here in South Africa. But I think fundamentally relations are very sound, and I wouldn't expect any great difference to occur.
Live in Cape Town, political analyst Daniel Silke, thank you very much for your time. And weather with